Hey guys, it's Chef Kinsey. I'm coming to you from my kitchen and we're going to be starting artisan breads. So, one of the ones that we use a lot at school is actually sourdough. I mean, we order it already made. However, you can make it at your house if you've got the time. So, but the process for sourdough bread can be a little more complicated than most because it actually takes several days for it to develop. You create what's called a starter, and it allows you to kind of use the flour's natural yeast in it to develop, and over time it gives it a sweet or a tangy flavor. The key to this is that you slowly feed it every day. You're gonna feed it flour, regular flour, and you're gonna feed it water. So whenever we feed it, we're gonna be feeding it all-purpose flour. But when you start it, you actually start with rye flour. Rye flour is also known as pumpernickel flour. You can also use whole wheat, but rye is gonna give you that more earthy richness that sourdough is known for. So for day one, I'm going to, there goes a cloud of dust. We're going to make this, got something in mind. Okay. We're going to make sourdough starter with rye flour. So it calls for, we're going to use 1 cup. Remember, whenever you're measuring, you want to level off your ingredients. So this is a 1/2 cup measuring cup. So I need 2 of those. 2 halves make a whole. Alright, and then I need a 1/2 cup. I actually have a little more than 1/2 cup, so let me pour some of this out. Alright, so I have a 1/2 cup of cool water that just came out of my faucet. Nothing special. Alright, we're going to mix this together until all of the flour is absorbed, guys. And you want to do this in what's called a non-reactive container. So that means that as these flavors and natural byproducts of fermentation start to develop, the non-reactive container isn't going to add any extra flavor to it. So this is going to be glass, it's going to be metal, it's going to be food grade plastic. You can also do it in ceramic if you have a ceramic bowl. I'm using a glass one for now, but depending on how it grows, I'm just going to cover it with some plastic wrap, but I may move it to a different container that has a fitted lid later. I'm going to borrow one from my mom. So anyway, you stir it all together. This is actually going to get covered loosely, and then it's going to set at room temperature for a full day. Tomorrow, I don't know that there may be a little bit of bubbling. That's why I'm trying to do it in a clear container so you can see what's going on. But there may be some bubbling, but we're going to take half of it, which is going to be approximately 4 ounces. And we're going to just, I haven't decided yet if I'm going to toss it or if I'm just going to end up with 2 starters. I would end up with a ton of sourdough bread, but I don't think y'all would find a problem with that if I brought some back to school whenever we can go. And then we're going to feed it. So tomorrow when we go to feed it, we're going to feed it it's a cup of all-purpose flour and a 1/2 cup of water, but it's not going to, it says a scant, which means just a little bit shy of 1 full cup of flour. So as we do that, we feed it, have it, feed it, have it, and it goes on that way through day 5. And then on day 5 is whenever we actually get to do a last feeding, and then we're going to make bread after that. And there's lots of different things we can do with that. So I will see y'all again tomorrow. Bye. All Alright guys, so we're on day 3. So we're going to start doing 2 daily feedings. But it's the same thing, so I'm going to stir this down. See how nice and liquidy it is? It's kind of smelling a little nutty. So we're going to weigh out 4 ounces of that, although I don't know that my wooden spoon's really going to work well for that. So let me grab a scoop. And I'm going to use a bowl instead of a plate. Okay, so we're going to weigh out 4 ounces. Let me zero out my scale. That's 2 ounces. Oh, that's a little more than 4. Okay, so, alright, there is 4 ounces. So, we're going to dump what's left of this bowl. And then we're going to add in, our flour and our water to our starter, mix it, and we're going to let it rest at room temperature for 12 hours, and then we're going to do it again. So, here's my flour. Hopefully this bowl will be big enough, and then I'll put it in a bowl, another bowl. Alright, there's my 1 cup of flour and my ½ cup of water. So I'm just going to use my little straight spatula right here to stir this in. But you can see, like, the first day we started with a paste, and then it started getting a little loose, and now it's nice and liquidy. So I'm just going to mix this in till it's all wet. And try not to make too much of a mess since I just cleaned the house today. Alright, now we're looking more like a paste. That's what we're looking for. And we're going to save 4 ounces and mix, and so in 12 hours we'll measure out another 4 ounces. And then we'll go from there, and we'll just start doing that. We'll do that today, tomorrow, and Saturday. Alright, beautiful. And then we're gonna get to actually make the sourdough bread the following day. That should be Sunday. So, I'm very excited. Sourdough is one of my favorites. Alright, thank you for watching. Have a great day. Alright guys, so today is day 5. I have been feeding this thing every 12 hours since Thursday, and I've decided that I want to make lots of sourdough bread. So I now have 4 going on. I've just fed these, and they were a paste, and as you can see, especially in this one, it's already smoothed out, and you can see the air bubbles coming up. That is beautiful. And tomorrow we'll see what it all looks like, and we will decide whether or not we can actually bake it tomorrow, or if I have to go one more day. Alright guys, so ignore the dirty kitchen in the background. So we're going to be making our sourdough bread, okay? This is the end of day 5. It's exactly where it needs to be for our starter. So we need 1 cup of sourdough starter, and then 3 cups of flour. So I'm going to measure my starter into this bowl right here, and then I'm going to go back and scrape out what's left in this bowl, put in my 3 cups of flour, and add my starter. And then that is going. I'm going to mix that up, put the lid back on it. It's going to set for 2 hours on the counter, and then it's going to go into the refrigerator overnight. So I'm going to go ahead and measure right now. Okay, so in here is 1 cup of sourdough starter, 3 cups of all-purpose flour, which is what we've been feeding it, and 1 2/3 of a cup of warm water. So it's not quite mixed in all the way, but I don't want to over mix it. So, and I'm kind of doing this one-handed because I'm not at my house. So anyway, this is going to go into the refrigerator overnight. Actually, it's going to sit on the countertop for 2 hours, and then it's going to go into the refrigerator overnight. This batch makes 2 loaves of sourdough bread. So tomorrow we will add yeast and salt and olive oil and some more flour, and we should be good. So I will see y'all tomorrow. All right, guys, so it's now the morning of the day of baking, and so this is sat overnight in the fridge, and I pulled it out about 30 minutes ago to kind of let it come up to temperature a little bit. We have our remaining 2.5 cups of flour. We have 1.5 teaspoons of yeast, 2 tablespoons of olive oil, and 2 teaspoons of, this is coarse ground sea salt. This is all going to go into my bowl, and I'm going to mix it until the sides of my bowl come clean. And then I'm going to turn it out onto the surface of my table on a lightly floured surface. I have some extra flour over here in a measuring cup so that I can dust my surface. So I will see you after I'm done mixing. Okay, so I have finished getting it in my bowl. I've put it on a lightly floured work surface. I'm going to sit here and I'm going to knead it until it's completely smooth and it springs back whenever I poke it. It's bringing back a little bit, but it needs a little bit more work to develop that gluten in there. And then it's going to go into a lightly greased surface. Remember, when you're kneading bread, you fold, push, turn, and you're just going to do it in quarters, okay? And if it starts to stick again, then you're just going to go ahead and you're going to add a little more flour to your hands or to your work surface, and we're just going to kind of keep going until it's all nice and smooth when you flip it over. See, we're more smooth now than we were before. And if the dough is too stiff or too hard, we can always add a little bit of water to it to soften it up some. But I'm going to try to go this route to see. If you needed to add water, you would make a well by pushing down in the middle of it, put in your little bit of water, and then knead that in. So I'm going to go probably at least 2 or 3 more minutes, and then I'll show y'all what it looks like whenever I put it into a greased bowl. Alright guys, so I've been kneading my dough. You see how it's nice and smooth on the top. I have my lightly oiled bowl. In here I'm just going to go ahead and spread that around a little bit more. I'm going to come in and I'm going to move my dough into my bowl. Make sure it gets nicely covered with oil. Okay, and then I'm going to cover it with some oiled plastic wrap, and then it's going to sit at room temperature for 2 hours. And then we're going to see, it should be nice and fluffy. And right now it's a little dense, but that's okay because it's going to rise. The yeast and the natural yeast we've been developing with the feeder and the yeast that we added into it's going to help it get nice and poofy and fluffy. So I will see y'all back into it. The dough has been sitting here for 2 hours. And you can see when you poke it, it kind of starts to come back up and fill that in a little bit. So we're going to roll with it. So we're going to take it and we're going to divide it into 2, knead them up real good in 2 loaves. And it's going to go over here onto my baking trays that have cornmeal. If you're wondering why this cornmeal looks weird, it's because it's made with blue corn instead of yellow corn. So I'm going to go ahead and preheat the oven to 450. All right, while that is preheating, I'm gonna let the bread set in its lows for an hour, although it's a little cool in here, so maybe an hour and a half. Then we're gonna score it and pop it in the oven. So let me get this made into loaves and I'll show you what it looks like. All right, so these have been shaped into round bowls. And my oven is preheating. Right now we're sitting at 292 and climbing. But it's only 70 degrees inside here, so this is probably going to take, I'm going to go an hour and a half to let them rise again. We're going to drizzle them with a little bit of olive oil so that they don't dry out. And then I threw away my plastic. And then I'm going to put a damp towel, oh sorry, you can't see what I'm doing, a damp towel over it so that they don't dry out. It still provides a little bit of moisture to them. And we'll check back in an hour and a half. Okay, so this is a greased piece of plastic wrap. These are my 2 bowls, sourdough bowls. I had to get a little creative to get them to rise because my mom likes it cold in the house. I'm at her house. So we're gonna cut a cross or a hashtag crosshatch across the top. That allows it to rise, okay? And then we are going to pop it in the oven. It's a nice, crazy hot oven. That is a little warm. All right, and then here they are. I'm gonna take this other one, and we're gonna pop it into the oven as well. But I need 2 hands for this, so I will let you know whenever it comes out. Alright guys, so here it is out of the oven. Nice and brown. You can see my cut marks in the top. So now we just have to wait for it to cool down a little bit, then cut into it. Alright guys, so this is the completed sourdough bread, still hot as it melts my butter. So now I expect to see all of y'all go and make sourdough bread in the next couple of weeks and show me pictures. Alright guys, so this is the completed sourdough bread, still hot as it melts my butter. So now I expect to see all of y'all go and make sourdough bread in the next couple of weeks and show me pictures.